This episode sponsored by Lake Monster Details, producing the Don's Light and Magic Legacy line of parts, offering upgrade parts and decals for accuracy, special effects, and lighting. Visit www.lakemonsterdetails.com and make it glow. Also sponsored by GCals, producing aftermarket replacement decals and custom quality graphics for your favorite spaceships. Visit www.gcals.company.site and add some personalization to your sci-fi models today. Also sponsored by Mask Design, boldly going where no masking kit has gone before. Take your model to the next level of detail and accuracy with a masking kit from Mask Design. Visit Mask Design on Facebook or click the ordering link in the notes below the video. Also sponsored by Paragrafix. Add superior detail and accuracy to your models with photo etch, resin, and multimedia accessories from your first source for photo etch parts and more. Paragrafix. They count rivets so you don't have to. Visit Paragrafix at www.paragrafix.biz or click the link in the notes below this video. Hey, what's up, fellow modelers? Will here. Welcome to the Ensign's Chair. I know it's been a minute again. It's been a lot of gaps in my videos. I did say this was the busy time for me at work, and again, I've been working 12, 14-hour days. It's just been a really long work day, so when I get done, I just want to come home and go to sleep. And then I've had some things on my weekends off where I've been occupied a bit. I did go to since the last video, I did go out to Bonneville Salt Flats one weekend for a speed week to watch the speed trials and them trying to break the speed records out there. That was a lot of fun. The following week, I went down to Star Trek Las Vegas. That was a blast. I got to get a couple of pictures done. I got one done with Christina Chong. Oh, sorry. I got one done with Christina Chong. I also got a bunch of autographs. I got autographs from and a photo with Sam and Melody from Flash Gordon. So I got to see them, got to talk to them for a little bit. It was a great conversation with both of them. And a little treat while I was walking around Star Trek Las Vegas was Denise and Michael Okuda were just walking around, and I couldn't pass up the chance to ask them if I get a photograph with them, so I got a photograph with them as well. Great people, and so I had a great time. One of the probably the biggest things that happened that really made my day was I was walking around the vendor hall, and they've also got the celebrity tables there, and I was standing there, and I just heard somebody yell, "Hey, nice jacket." I looked around, and I looked over, and I saw Terry Metalis sitting at his table. And I kind of looked around real quick just to make sure he was talking to me. I'm like, "What's that?" I'm like, "What's that, Terry?" He's like, "I like your jacket." I was wearing my Kirk Bomber jacket from Star Trek V, and he made the comment that Star Trek V was a very underrepresented movie at a lot of the conventions. So he was really glad to see me and represent him with my jacket, and complimented me on my jacket, and I appreciate it. And I told him, "Thank you, Terry." And went about my way. But I did want to go have a conversation with them, but by that time I had already spent my allotment of funds for autographs and selfies with celebrities. So I'm sure Terry wouldn't have minded. I don't think he had a line there at the time, but I try to be respectful to them when they're at those conventions. I don't want to take up their time if they're, possibly somebody sees somebody talking to a celebrity and decides not to go get a selfie or a photograph or an autograph because they see somebody standing there talking to them. So I try to be respectful of that. But anyway, had a great time. Sold a couple buckles at the convention, and that's been taking up a lot of time too. I've been getting a lot more orders for the bomber jacket buckles that I make, so that's kept me busy too. But I've been trying to get on this. What you're going to talk about in this episode, you're going to see, is mainly just working on the wiring. I've ran into, when I went to wire the roll bar and the nacelles together and to the main hull and mate those together and get that all done, I ran into a electrical issue, and you're going to see what that is in the video. It's hard to discuss without you actually seeing it, so I'll show you here in a minute. But it actually took me a period of several weeks just to work that out and isolate the problem, and I think I've got it figured out now, but we won't know till next episode because I had to order another Arduino board. That is a whole nother issue. I will talk about it, as I said in this video. But I think I've got the electrical issues worked out. There were a couple times where it just frustrated me because I could not figure out what the problem was, and I had to walk away, and there was at least one time where I walked away from and didn't touch the model for 2 weeks because I just got so frustrated and disappointed with how things were going with it, with all the work I'd put into it and all the planning, my color-coded wiring, and all that stuff. And just sometimes the best laid plans just don't work out. But anyway, not to take too long with this introduction, but we're going to talk about that. So a lot of this is just going to be dealing with wiring. There's not really a lot of build progress made because I couldn't attach the roll bar and the cells because of this electrical issue. So without further ado, give me a minute. I'll put you on the bench. We'll get to work. All right, so I've got my wiring. I'm working on getting this roll bar wired up to the main hull, and I've already wired up the other side, but I just wanted to show real quick what I'm doing. It's a little tedious doing it this way, but basically what I've been doing is cutting off a little piece of shrink tubing, and then I'll put this piece of shrink tubing on one end. And I can tell already with all the shrink tubing I've got, I'm going to have to open this hole up more. I should have just widened this out a bit before I ran my wires, but I'll get my router bit and just carefully round it out some more. That way I can fit all these wires back into the hull a little easier. But it's just a matter of taking these wires, using my tweezers here to get these wrapped up, and just get a couple twists on this. Try and get it smoothed out a little bit. Alright, and then let me grab a couple of these wires that are hanging down, little strands. Alright, get the shrink tubing down so it doesn't melt when I solder this, but once I've got one of these twisted together, I come with my soldering iron. And just solder the wire together. And that's it. Then all I got to do is slide the shrink tubing up. And there we go. Now that wire's together. I know this might be a little hard. It's hard to get light into here real easy. So, did my camera just cut out? But so it's real hard to get lighting in here to really see what's going on. But that's the gist of it, is basically just getting all this together. But so the only issues I've run into doing this so far is my yellow wire, which is for my thrusters, was missing on this side. So come to find out, there was just the slightest bit of wiring, just the silver part here, sticking out, and I was able to grab it with my tweezers and pull it back out. What happened was, when I was working on the other side, pulling the yellow wire, apparently I didn't I didn't attach this yellow wire to anything in the inside, and it's just sliding back and forth between the two sides. So fortunately I was able to grab that and pull that back out. The other thing I'm working on too is I had a change of plans from when I ran the wires in the hull to when I did the nacelles. Originally I was going to run it to where these front lights cut on with the front windows, these front side shining lights on the front of the nacelles cut on with the front windows on the saucer, but I decided I wasn't too sure that would work out too well because that's not a 12 volt coming off of those wires for the lights, it's only 5 volt. So I decided not to do that, and I'm just going to wire everything 12 volt into the nacelle. So I only ran one red wire right here out of the nacelles, and everything's wired to power on that. So one of these wires I had marked with black, just little black paint ticks on it. The problem is when I was painting the saucer, I got a little white paint on here, so that I cleaned it up with some thinner, and it took off my black markers. So now I'm not sure which one is which. So what I'm going to have to do is wire these together, test it out, make sure that everything's working properly, and then we'll just go with that. But yeah, so I do have a voltage tester I can use to test the voltage coming off these two. One should be a 12 volt, the other one should only be about 5 volt power source. So I might have to figure out which one is which now, since my paint markings came off with the white paint that was covering them. So that issue I got to work out. The other issue I'm running into is I've got an orange wire coming out the side here, which is supposed to, I believe, control the phaser, but I don't have an orange wire coming off of this side of the pylon. So I'm not sure what I did there, so I'm going to go back and look at my videos. That's the great thing about doing videos on everything. Go back and see if I did something different, and maybe I only ran, and actually this might be the wire for my photons, which if that's the case, I've got an orange wire on the other side. I may have just ran the orange wire down one side of the pylon, so I got to go back and look. And then when I was running the wires, I didn't think about it and just ran an extra orange wire to this side that I don't need. If that's the case, I can just cut this off and push it back into the hole, and I won't need it. But so I'm going to have to check that, go back and look at my videos and see what I did there. I think that's the case. I'm pretty sure that my purple wires, I think, are to my mega phasers. And I've got both those purple wires running off this side, so I think my orange is to my photons, but I got to go back again, like I said, and look. Usually I make a sheet, print up a sheet with my color coding, so that way I can just go back and reference it, but I didn't do that with this, and that's why it's probably a good idea to do that. So either way, I'll get that figured out. I'll get this wired up, and we'll come back and I'll get it wired up to the Arduino, and we'll take a look and see how all the lights are working. Fingers crossed. Alright guys, so I've got this wired up to the Arduino, and everything looks pretty good. I've got two issues right now, and I think they're wiring issues, not light issues as far as a light being out. At least I hope that's the case with this one right here on top of the wing. You can see on this side it's lit, but on this side it's not lit up right now, so I need to see if I can figure out what's going on with that. The other issue I'm having is that this mega phaser on this side is staying on continuously, so obviously I've wired that up wrong, and I've got it wired into a constant positive instead of just being wired into the Arduino to where it should only come on when I push the button. My photons are working. I'll push the button on those. Maybe they'll cooperate. I don't have this hardwired together, so some of this stuff is a little testy. And of course it was working just a second ago before I started filming, and now it doesn't want to work. Figures. But anyway, so the photons are working, it's just not cooperating right now. Again, like I said, I don't have this all hardwired in yet. It's all kind of, I do have the wires soldered into the pylons just to hold those in place. But so everything's working good. All my my strobes are working. You can see the one on top here. You can't, I don't know if this one's in camera. Yeah, there it is. And the other one's under my shelf, so you can't really see that one. My warp engines are lighting up blue, which is good. My thrusters, when this goes from blue to amber, my thrusters are all lighting up. I know you can't really see them because I haven't really removed the masking from all the thrusters yet, but these ones on the front on this side here I can look at, and I can see that they're lighting up. I also did verify that the one on the back edge of the port nacelle is lighting up as well, because I did go ahead and paint that one and remove the masking, but if I try to move this around right now to show you, it will just disconnect everything. So everything on top's working. I was worried about this nav light, but as you can see, it's working just fine. And strobe's working there. Now I don't have the internal lighting connected right now, so that's why none of the windows are lit up. But my main concern was everything that's being operated by the Arduino, which everything looks good. I do have the two lights in the back corners here on the underside that aren't lighting up, but I think I may have forgotten to remove the mask off those. At least that's what I'm hoping. I doubt both of those would have been messed up at any point, so it's probably that just I haven't pulled the masking off of those. So I've got to do that, but I've got to figure out what's going on with this red light on top here and see if I can figure out the wiring issue with my mega phaser, and then I can do the final wire up of this and get this roll bar finally attached to the saucer section. So I'm gonna work on that, try to get that all figured out, and once I get that all figured out, we'll come back and take a look. Oh, there goes my photons. We'll be back. Alright guys, so part of figuring out these electric issues is figuring out how to do this without screwing anything up. So one of the things I don't have in my arsenal of model building is one of those cool little I forget what you call them, transformers or whatever you call them, that you can dial in and set a specific voltage on it. I don't have one of those. So what I did was I used one of my plugs here, my spare plugs that I had, and wired the negative into the negative and wired the positive up. But what I did was I put a 600, what is this, a 680 ohm resistor on here, so that way, and the reason for doing that is because I don't know, some of the stuff, I believe the mega phaser light or LED for the mega phaser, I believe is already resisted up in here, and a lot of the other stuff though coming out of the wing was joined together and resisted either right here or down in this section here, and I don't know what's resisted and what's not. So I don't want to go just hooking 12 volt power to everything, because what I don't want to do is blow, say, my strobe light on top or this red formation light, which I did fix on the other side, by the way. But so what I did was I just soldered on a, like I said, 680 ohm resistor, and that way I can come in and touch stuff and test it out without worrying about blowing anything, as long as I don't touch. And you can see here that lights up. That is my 12 volt for here. And what I was able to figure out by probing and by just a little luck is that this wire here, which I cut free now, powers my mega phaser, and you can see that lighting up right there. So I've got that worked out. I just need to I might need to add a little bit of wire to this, or I might just be able to solder this straight into the wires coming out of the hole. I'll have to see how much room I've got. So I've got that worked out. Like I said, the other side I've got that worked out to where that light wasn't working. Like I said, the light itself, the LED or SMD itself, wasn't damaged. I just had to figure out what was going on, and there was a little bit, luckily. Now, if it happened on this side, it wouldn't have been as easy, because I don't see any of that wire from the SMD sticking out, whereas on the other side I had just a little bit of the SMD wire sticking out, and I knew that was the wire for that red LED, because that's the only place I've got an SMD that would still have that thin, that very thin wire from the SMD itself. Everything else has been replaced with my wrapping wire. So I was able to figure that out pretty easy, get that disconnected, hook it up to another resistor. Apparently the connection was bad somewhere in the pylon on that side. Hook it up to another resistor, and now it's working good. So everything's worked out with this, so I can now go back and get everything rehooked up and do one more light test, and hopefully everything's working right, and we'll be ready to get this roll bar attached. So give me a bit. Alright, so I have this build has been going on way too long. I think I'm almost at a year, if not at a year, on this build, and it's just crazy for a 1537. I mean, a lot of it had to do with the upgrades I've been working on, and of course I had the move to Nevada that kind of threw everything in a slowdown. But anyway, so I've been having the electrical issues. I did figure out and fix the electrical issue, the lighting issue with this marker light. And I forget what the other issue was, but I've got them both figured out. Everything's worked out now, except for one thing, and it's a doozy. This nacelle, the blue, the warp chiller grills, and this crystal on top, when I hook up the positive and negative for this nacelle, they're coming on, which they shouldn't be. If I hook up the positive and negative for this nacelle, this warp grill does not come on until I connect the blue to a 12 volt positive or to the blue wire, whichever one I want to hook it to. But this one, when I hook it up to the positive and the negative, it's all lighting up. And if I disconnect the positive, of course, not only that turns it off, but it also turns off these inward facing spotlights. So I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's happened. I've tested, you know, you can watch my videos. I've tested. I did tests all along the way, and everything was working great. And then now all of a sudden I get to this point where I'm ready to join this with the main hull, and I'm having this issue. On top of that, I think whatever's going on with this, because this blue wire basically does nothing on this one. On this one, if I connect the blue wire, it turns the chiller grill and everything on. This side, if I try to connect the blue wire, it does absolutely nothing, changes nothing. So something is going on with this blue wire. I don't know what, but I've fried my third board, my third Arduino Uno board, trying to figure it out, and I'm done frying boards. So what that means is I am going to have to choose a mode. It's either going to have to be at impulse or it's going to have to be at warp. That decision's kind of been made for me because, as I said, if I connect the 12 volt positive on this, it lights up everything. If I disconnect it, I do turn off my blue chiller grills, but I also lose this inward facing spotlight. So I am going to have to do away with the transition, and even though I've got it set up for amber in the impulse crystal, I'm going to have to just leave it all blue. It's all going to have to be at warp the whole time. That's the only thing I can do, because this wire, in order to figure this out, I would have to crack this nacelle back open, and I am not willing to do that. I've already popped this pylon open on this side to fix this light here, and that's as far as I'm willing to go. I don't want to. This is an easy fix because the air conditioner just cut on. Sorry. Because this back part here, I already said I was going to have to fix because the vents were a little crooked that I painted on here, and then on this front edge that gets repainted anyway because that gets the baby the powder blue on it. So I wasn't worried about that. But this, in order to crack this open, I'd have to redo all my Aztecing, and the problem with that is I can't get anything from Gary right now because of the tariff situation and everything. And please don't make it political statements about this. I'm not getting into that. I'm just letting you know that Gary can't ship his kits to the U.S. right now because we have this tariff situation going on, and it's unfortunate and it sucks, and that means that if I broke this open, I wouldn't be able to ask Gary or get replacements to redo this nacelle as I needed to. So I'm not going to break it open. So as you can see, I've had to do something I really didn't want to do. I did not want to have to crack this nacelle back open. But I've spent way too much time, put way too much detail into this model to just let it slide, as far as I was looking at the possibility of not being able to use the blue transition for the warp drive because I couldn't figure out why this blue light was staying on. And then I had an issue too with at times the chiller grill itself would stay lit blue as well, and I don't know what happened, but the only thing I could figure is something was wrong with the MOSFET. So I came back in, I soldered in the new MOSFET, and you can see that blue light is out now, and I do have my side spotlights are lit. So that problem is fixed. I hate that I had to crack this back open, but I literally tried everything I could figure out what's going on. The only thing I could come up with is something happened to the MOSFET in here and it was stuck in the on position, or something else was going on with it. Weird thing is, so if I disconnect the blue wire from the board, just touching it turns the blue light on, and I don't know why that is. See, now it stays on. I'm wondering if maybe there wasn't anything wrong with the MOSFET in the first place. Maybe it was some other issue. I don't know, but it's weird that I can touch this and turn the MOSFET on, and then touch it and turn it off. But anyway, hopefully that fixes the problem. It sucks now because now I've got to get this put back together. I've got to redo the seam work, and then I've got to figure out how I'm going to do the Aztecing without the benefit of Gary's mask, because Gary cannot ship anything to the U.S. right now because of the current tariff situation. So I'm going to have to get this back together, and I do have some leftover stuff from the masking kit, so I'm going to have to try to figure something out as far as redoing that Aztecing on this nacelle. But hopefully that's fixed. I'm not going to seal this back up until I get another control board. This is the original Arduino Uno I had, but several of the, let me wire this back together, several of the of the pins don't seem to work anymore. Like this one, for example. This should be turning the nacelle blue, but it's not, and also the photons and phasers stopped working as well. And I just tried to re-upload the sketch to see if maybe that would fix it, and it's still not working. So as far as I know, though, everything else, let me see if I don't have a long enough wire to do this. Let me see if I can get set this on this side, see if I can hook up my strobe and confirm that that is still working as well. Yep. I don't know if you can see that flashing on my finger, but the strobe is working as well. But for some reason the blue transition and the amber transition stopped working. The pins don't work anymore, and the phasers and photons don't work anymore. So basically all this board is doing and is good for is the strobes and the nav lights. So I don't know what happened to this board, but I've actually fried 2 other boards trying to work out this electrical issue. I just got one in today, got it programmed, got it hooked up, and we're still having the same issue where this light and the blue warp chiller grill on this side were staying on. And after about 30 seconds of it being hooked up, literally the chip in the middle just smoked, and that board was done. So fortunately it was a cheap board, and maybe that's why it broke. I only paid like $6 or $7 from it off of Amazon, made in China. So I think I'm going to go back to order, I'm going to pay up and order an original Arduino Uno. Because I think now that I've got this worked out, hopefully I don't have any more issues with burning up boards. But including this board, I've gone through 3 boards on this build, and it's really disheartening and frustrating when you're basically just throwing money away every time you burn up a board. So, but I think I've got this figured out now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this episode up. I'm going to finish up. I'm going to get this, well, actually, I can't even put this nacelle back together until I get another board in and test it, because I don't want to close this up until I am 100% certain that both of these nacelles are now working as they're supposed to. And then I'll get this sealed back up and re-sand it. So unfortunately, it's probably going to be a little bit before I get a video out again. It's already been a while since I've gotten a video out from this one. I think it's been over 45 days. But sometimes you hit those hiccups, and it takes a little bit to get them worked out. And on top of that, I've had a couple other things that have been going on as I mentioned in the beginning of the video. I did go to some other things on the weekends when I was off instead of working on models, which, life happens. You got to get out there and do things. But again, as always, I just want to say thank you to everybody for subscribing and watching these videos. If you haven't subscribed yet and you're watching this video, please consider hitting that subscribe button. It costs you nothing, but it helps me out tremendously, especially with my sponsors. And as always, speaking of my sponsors, I want to mention Gus over at G-Cows. Check him out in the notes below the video. I've got a link for his goods. Cass over Lake Monster Details, also a link down below. Paul over at Paragrafix, again, link down in the notes below this video. And as I mentioned before, Gary, our Canadian partner up there at Mass Design, hopefully they get this tariff thing worked out so that we can get back to doing business with Gary up there, because he's got some great stuff. And I mean, he needs some help getting this fixed for the Aztecs. But we'll see. I'll try to figure out something. But anyway, again, as always, thank everybody for watching. Till next time, keep modeling.